You will never choose Charlotte over Raleigh after watching this video, as I have overwhelming data and real-life examples that prove Raleigh's clear dominance over Charlotte. Listen, if you're thinking of moving to North Carolina, you're already on the right track, as North Carolina ranks just behind South Carolina as the top states that people are moving to. But if you choose the wrong city, you will be left with major regret. And I'm seeing that a lot from people leaving Charlotte right now. And in this video, I will break down why, using rankings, statistics, and real-life experiences. Let's jump right in. The U.S. News & World Report comes out with its best places to live rankings every year. And in 2025, both Raleigh and Charlotte shined, coming in at number 6 and number 5 respectively. But here's the twist. This year was drastically different. The rankings focused more this year on affordability and suburban living. And the result, Raleigh dropped to 155, while Charlotte didn't even make the list. Raleigh's popular suburbs of Cary and Apex ranked number 11 and number 20 though, as the list was dominated by suburbs. I honestly don't understand these rankings, as there are so many places in the north or far south like Texas where the weather is just miserably cold or hot, but that's another argument. And when looking at just the top big cities to live in, Raleigh came in at number 4 and Charlotte at number 13. Let's take a quick look at the numbers. Raleigh has an estimated population of 515,000 with a metro population of 1.7 million, compared to Charlotte at 965,000 and a metro population of 2.9 million. If you include Durham and Chapel Hill though, Raleigh is closer to 2.4 million. The median home prices are very close, with Raleigh coming in around 425,000, with Charlotte closer to 410,000. But let's face it, no one actually wants to live in Charlotte proper. They want to live in its suburbs, which get very expensive. The biggest difference between the two though is the quality of life. This is where Raleigh shines, and we will look at 4 major categories: traffic and crowds, safety, entertainment, and the outdoors. Starting with traffic and crowds, this is the number one reason why I see people leaving Charlotte. The traffic is horrendous. In a recent study by Wallet Hub that takes into account driving experiences as a whole, Raleigh ranked number 11 as one of the best major cities to drive in, while Charlotte ranked all the way down at number 52. Some notable cities coming in ahead of Charlotte were Atlanta, Georgia, Orlando and Tampa Bay, Florida, and Dallas, Texas. If you've ever driven in any of those cities, you know how miserable even driving 5 miles down the road can be. And Charlotte is worse. Most people blame Charlotte's bottlenecks that make the congestion feel worse than its size. Another ranking as Charlotte as having the 20th most hours lost due to traffic congestion annually at 41, while Raleigh averages around 25, placing it outside the top 100. According to the TomTom Traffic Index, Charlotte had a 72% evening rush congestion versus Raleigh's 48%, and also noted that Charlotte drivers lose 69% more time due to traffic than Raleigh. I can tell you both firsthand and from numerous clients and friends just how bad Charlotte's traffic can be. I can't tell you how many times I've heard traffic being the largest factor as to why people made the move from Charlotte to Raleigh. Between 3 and 7, you just don't drive around Charlotte. You literally have to plan your whole day around avoiding the 3 to 7 commuting hours. For Raleigh, traffic is no doubt getting relatively worse in some areas, but overall, it feels like a breeze compared to Charlotte. But if you think traffic is bad, if you have a family or plan to spend time out at night in the city, this crime data will have you running from Charlotte, especially its downtown. But before we get into it, make sure to download our free relocation guide. And if you're looking to move to Raleigh, our team specializes in relocation and we would love to help you. Charlotte consistently ranks in the bottom tier of safety rankings, while Raleigh regularly ranks near the top for major cities. Raleigh's violent crime rate is 489 per 100,000, while Charlotte's is a staggering 733 per 100,000, which is nearly double the national average. And notably, Charlotte's rate is higher than New York City at 540, Boston at 620, and Dallas at 775. And it's just better than Atlanta at 800. So that gives you a perspective for comparison. Raleigh's violent crimes are dominated by assaults involving disputes between parties, while Charlotte's violence is partly attributed to its increasing gang activity. Charlotte simply has a significantly higher rate of shootings and armed robberies, while Raleigh's crime is spotty and lower intensity in nature. And Charlotte has a light rail, but honestly, I will never ride that. I've taken it once and I will never do it again. Most people also remember the tragedy of the poor 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee who was brutally killed on the light rail last year. It was absolutely terrifying and disturbing. Property crime is also happening at a much higher rate in Charlotte, coming in at 3,705 incidents per 100,000, while Raleigh Raleigh is down at 2,819 per 100,000. This is also amongst the main reasons why people are leaving Charlotte for Raleigh, as people with families simply won't go to Charlotte proper, and if you walk around downtown, as pretty as it is, you will feel uncomfortable. So simply put, Raleigh is known as one of the safest large cities in the Southeast and has multiple suburbs where crime is non-existent, while Charlotte ranks among some of the most notorious crime cities in America. Now, if you do feel empowered to tackle the streets of Charlotte, you will find Charlotte's nightlife blows Raleigh's out of the water. Charlotte is a big city, and it feels like a big city. Raleigh is getting there with its options rapidly expanding, but it feels more like an expanded college town scene than a big city nightlife. But millennials are still choosing Raleigh over Charlotte at a high rate, as Raleigh ranks #1 in the US for millennial homeownership, and tens of thousands leave Charlotte for Raleigh each year. So why is this? Well, to start, here's a crazy stat. Charlotte ranks #2 in the US as having the highest cost for a night out. That's higher than New York, Chicago, and DC. Raleigh is regularly $2 to $3 per drink cheaper than Charlotte and has lower transportation and hotel costs across the board. And for bars and clubs, Raleigh is actually right on par with Charlotte when comparing downtown venues. There are over 100 bars in downtown Raleigh compared to 120 in Charlotte, with 264 total dining and nightlife options versus Charlotte's 250. And when comparing strictly nightclubs, Raleigh has 15 compared to Charlotte's 25. The biggest difference, Raleigh's nightclubs are smaller and closer together, while Charlotte's nightclubs hold a much higher capacity and are more spread out. So it can feel like Charlotte is leagues above Raleigh as each club scale is larger and feels more upscale, but people find that Raleigh's nightlife scene punches higher than its weight class given the rapid expansion over the past 5 years, and that unless you want endless partying and variety, it is more than sufficient for the vast majority of people. For restaurants, Charlotte has over 3,000 restaurants, while Raleigh has around 1,700, but per capita, Raleigh actually ranks out essentially equal at 1 per 284 people versus Charlotte's 1 per 278 people. The biggest difference is the feel, as Charlotte is dominated by chain and corporate style restaurants, while Raleigh and its neighbor Durham have more of the neighborhood style feeling restaurants with quite the diversity of international offerings. Don't get me wrong, Charlotte has these too, and it actually has a really good food scene, I'll give it that, but it does feel more chain heavy. Now, when comparing sports scenes, it's overall a hard comparison as the city's offerings are completely different. Charlotte has the NFL, NBA, MLS, and NASCAR, but has no major college in its vicinity beyond the lower tier UNC Charlotte. Raleigh has arguably the best college sports setup in the country with Duke, UNC, and NC State all within 30 minutes of each other, and it also has the NHL's Carolina Hurricanes. But the atmosphere just couldn't be more different. Charlotte's fan base for the Panthers, and especially the Hornets, is very bland and unenthusiastic. It ranks 25th in attendance in the NBA, and the Panthers' attendance is very dependent on how the team is doing, which is usually not very good. Raleigh, on the other hand, is in the top tier of NHL attendance with an active streak of 156 consecutive regular season sellouts, and it was ranked as the toughest place to play in the NHL by current NHL players this year. And the college scene speaks for itself with Duke and UNC basketball and NC State football. The passion and tailgating are like no other sports scenes, with Duke and UNC basketball tickets regularly going for thousands of dollars. I've been to Panthers games and I've been to NC State football games, and even comparing those two, the NC State atmosphere blows the Panthers out of the water. And lastly, the concerts. Charlotte regularly gets over 100 concerts per year, while Raleigh gets around 70. Raleigh gets the major acts, but has not historically used NC State's Carter Finley Stadium for the largest acts, while Charlotte does use Bank of America Stadium. But it's honestly rare that a large act goes to Charlotte and does not stop in Raleigh as well. So I have not experienced a need personally to go to Charlotte due to Raleigh being skipped. Now, while Charlotte may have an edge in the entertainment space in some areas, the comparison of outdoor offerings is where the major disparity comes into play. Raleigh has nearly 10,000 acres of total park space, over 220 parks, and 120 miles of greenway trails, compared to Charlotte's 17,600 total acres, 210 parks, and 100 miles of greenway trails. But those numbers don't tell the whole story, as Raleigh's numbers don't include the nearly 6,000 acre Umstead Park in the middle of the city, as it's considered a state park, and Durham's city and nearby state parks as well. The biggest differences, though, come in the quality of the parks. Raleigh's park score of 49 is vastly better than Charlotte's 87. But what does this mean? Raleigh's park system is of much higher quality with higher investments and much better density. Charlotte is much larger footprint-wise than Raleigh, and the parks and greenways feel very spread out. Raleigh is very connected with one of the most connected greenway systems in the country, and Charlotte's parks are just there. Beyond a few really nice parks that I've seen, they really need some TLC. Raleigh's are just on another level quality-wise and has some parks like Umstead, the Gibson Play Plaza, and Dix Park as a whole, and Pullen Park. And Raleigh's tree canopy coverage is amongst the best in the nation at 50% compared to Charlotte's 46%. And 4% is a huge difference. And while Charlotte and Raleigh both offer multiple freshwater lakes to go boating in, Charlotte's are notoriously crowded to the point of them being unenjoyable. A couple categories left, but they may be the most important ones to professionals and definitely parents. Job markets, both are good. Raleigh's is better. The most straightforward stat comes from the famous Milken Institute's annual rankings of the best performing cities. This takes into account job market, wages, and the overall economy, and Raleigh's rank number 1. Raleigh is the best performing city in America. Charlotte also did well, but it only came in at number 16. Charlotte does have more jobs overall, but Raleigh has better jobs as it's very tech heavy and has a higher average salary of $74,000 versus Charlotte's $70,000. Raleigh has the very high paying tech jobs though, thanks to its Research Triangle Park, the largest research park in the nation. So Raleigh's houses are slightly more money, but Raleigh has higher overall salaries too. Charlotte is hands down better with the corporate finance type jobs, so if you're in that line of work, Charlotte is your better choice. Raleigh's unemployment rate also hovers in the low 3s compared to Charlotte's in the low 4s, which are both pretty good as Raleigh currently ranks number 14 and Charlotte number 16 in the nation for having the hottest job markets. And the school systems, parents, listen up, because this is another major blow for Charlotte. Raleigh resides in the Wake County Public School System, which consistently ranks in the top 3 best counties in North Carolina and ranks out well nationwide. Charlotte-Mecklenburg hovers between 5 to 10, which is not bad overall, but has a much higher inequality of schools than Wake County. Wake County has very consistent A and B rated schools across the board, while Mecklenburg County has over 40% of their schools with D or F ratings. So while Mecklenburg does have some excellent schools, there are also a lot of really bad schools. And these next stats continue to show the gap. Wake County has a graduation rate of 89% to Mecklenburg's 83%, a college readiness score of 85% to 76%, and a staggering difference of 70% of meeting growth targets from K through 12 versus 40% for Mecklenburg. So while you can get a good education in Charlotte, you're equally as likely to see your children struggle. While in Raleigh, you know you're getting a good education regardless of the school. And not to mention the Triangle having NC State, Duke, and UNC within 30 minutes of each other, and all pull a large number of their students from Wake County high schools. So unless you're a young professional in finance, how could anyone else not choose Raleigh over Charlotte? The numbers overwhelmingly prove this point. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to download our free relocation guide. If you want to learn more about Raleigh, check out some of our latest videos. Thank you for watching.